So tonight we'll be looking at understanding prayer and meditation. So you guys know, raise your virtual hand if you have a question after the PowerPoint finishes. If you can't wait, I can pause for a quick question, but save your discussions till the end. If you just have like a real quick question, as I said, I like to say as focused as possible. I'm an ADD person, and when I go off track, I go way off track. So um, let's help each other out in that area. And again, if you need to reach me, I can't look at the chat and do everything else. Send Rivers a chat. She's going to do her best to answer whatever she can. If not, she can always reach out to me or tell you, we can get you an answer later. But that takes the burden off of me of having to look through the chat too. As far as anonymity goes, it's the spiritual foundation of all of our traditions. Please respect this and treat in confidence who you see and what you hear here. Um, it's kind of an unspoken rule in any meeting, and I would hope that everybody honors that, even in this workshop being a little bit of a different meeting. And I also want to remind people the website is really a fantastic source of information. There's access to the workbook, there's a guidebook. You can see all the lessons we've done. You can see the ones that are coming up. If you delete your homework assignment accidentally, all of that's on the website. So you don't ever have to feel like, oh God, I didn't, I'm lost. I can't fix this. Anything you need is on the website. And if it's not, you can always send me an email through the website or through the traditional email and just ask me outright. So working within the 12-step process, it brings a profound spiritual awakening. And we don't want to be hijacked by replaying the narratives that will end us back in our past dysfunctional behaviors. So the story helps identify the problem initially, but it's the application of the step 12s that produce our recovery. So that's our focus, is the recovery part. This is not a personal attack on anyone's sharing or anyone's story. It's quite the contrary. It's implemented in order to keep us on task and focused on the solution, not the stories that got us here. So everybody just take a deep breath and set aside and let go of your preconceived notions and ideas. Open your minds. And for the next hour and a half, just be willing to see things differently. That's the best way to live your life in the light, is to be in willingness. On page 27 in the big book, it says, ideas, emotions, and attitudes, which were once the guiding forces of the lives of these men and women, are suddenly cast to one side, and a completely new set of conceptions and motives begin to dominate us. This is one of the references to the set-aside prayer in the big book. It's not in there formally, but it is referenced in there. So if you'd like to say the set-aside prayer along with me, you don't have to unmute. You can just say it to yourselves. God, please set aside everything that I think I know about myself, my brokenness, my spiritual path, and you for an open mind and a new experience with myself, my brokenness, my spiritual path, and especially you. So last week I talked a little bit about my spiritual awakening, and I'm sure I've talked about it before, so you guys pretty much know that story. And promising a spiritual awakening is the mission statement of the 12 steps. And it's also why we're all here tonight. And I want everyone to understand this, because this is the solution. This is the path to freedom. Freedom from addiction, freedom from unmanageability, freedom from being alone in this world without a higher power. So we all come by way of our own suffering in some form or another, but Bill promises us that we will be set free. Of course, not before we complete the ninth step. But on page 42, Bill writes, but the program of action, though entirely sensible, was pretty drastic. It meant I would have to throw several lifelong conceptions out of the window. Bill said it was not easy, but the moment I made up my mind to go through with the release, I had the curious feeling that my alcohol condition was relieved, as in fact it proved to be. So we all at some point have to decide if we are willing to let go of our old, long-held, preconceived notions that we've collected along the way, right to this moment where we are now. And we land in this place where we require recovery, mostly because of all of those incorrect notions. So that's the goal, is to release these notions that we've all held and believe them to be 100% truth, when in fact they're actually not. The purpose of the steps is not about addiction. The purpose is not about enriching our lives. Those are just the icing on the cake. When I found the power, and when you find your power, you will get free of addiction. You will then be able to glide through life in a smooth flow with very little resistance. Its purpose is also to develop a relationship with reality. That's the power, in whatever form you have chosen the power to be. Addiction is the disease of non-truths. Reality does not sit easy with us. We have historically defaulted to embellishments and lies. We discussed the dishonesty a little bit last week. It was actually brought up. And oftentimes, those of us struggling with a substance or process addiction will try and hide our addiction from family, friends, coworkers, anybody around us. And the deception will usually look like gaslighting, telling half-truths, white lies, or even outright falsities in order to manipulate outcomes to our dysfunctional needs. So honesty is a key, very, very large key for successful, healthy recovery, but doing so can prove to be extremely difficult. We have to remember why we lie in the first place before we castrate ourselves. And the 12 steps are given to us from Bill to guide us to find our own connection to a higher power. Finding power is not just about addiction, nor is it about our difficulty with life situations. Those are the byproducts of living without a power. When we reconnect with the power, we will become free of the need for addiction, and the addiction will have lost its status in our lives as we have a new, more effective way to live in the power. You will become easily able to navigate life smoothly and eventually to be aware of the flow going on around you. And ultimately, you will seek to remain in that flow. When we realize that we have never been separate from the Creator and we're never apart from the flow, we will feel comfortable delving deeper within ourselves and our surroundings in order to find the higher power that's in everything. God is not found in the soul by adding anything, but by a process of subtraction. That's a quote by Meister Eckhart. He was around in the 1200s. He was a German theologian and mystic. He taught that divine connection is achieved by removing obstacles like the ego, desires, and attachments, rather than acquiring more. We focus on a process of shedding to find God in our souls. Maybe your ego seems to have taken you away from this, but you have never been separate from your higher power. That would be impossible because God is in everything. So, step 11 is on pages 85 to 88 in the big book, and it reads, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. And remember to not get caught on the words like him, his, he, God, all of those things. Bill was really good about using various names, and it's got to be called something. So just put your own words in there if it makes it feel better. But let's take a look at it verse by verse. So sought through prayer and meditation. So we're going to look at the word sought and what that means. I'd have to say I did more than just sought through prayer and meditation to improve my conscious contact. I studied various classes in college. I studied and learned about many of the various religions of the world. I watched documentaries. I spoke with religious leaders, all in order to find my higher power through educating myself to understand where I was about to put my faith, which I didn't give over very easily. I was very attached to being in control. So it was a hard thing for me to do. So I wanted to be very clear in what my goal was. So once I had had a spiritual awakening, all those other avenues I had gone down seemed kind of ridiculous. But in essence, they weren't. They were part of my journey. It opened me up and brought me to where I am today. So don't be afraid to go out and seek for that answer to what your higher power means. What does it mean to you? What does it entail? Where does it come from? Just keep building on each question that you have. And the recommendation is a meditation practice in the morning, every morning. And as I have admitted, I'm not a very good meditator because of my relentless mind, especially when faced with a long amount of time. I find that if I can do a couple of minutes at a time, I can really rock it. It's like the Boston Marathon, which just happened. I was using this as an example. I can't run a marathon, but I can run for 10 minutes at a time. Well, maybe walk fast. In those steps, they keep counting on my watch, so they count. And over time, I build up my practice, my endurance, and even my desire to go even longer. This is a process, and I can't skip any steps along the way if I want to run the Boston Marathon, which is the ultimate in running. And we ultimately want to improve our conscious contact with our higher powers. So it's important to note that meditation works effectively even when done for short periods, like 1 minute to 15 minutes. And research indicates that brief daily sessions can reduce stress, enhance focus, improve emotional regulation, often offering similar behavioral benefits of longer sessions. Consistency is more important than duration. Frequent short sessions are better than infrequent longer ones. So I start people out that struggle with meditation with a 1 minute meditation. And you can do it anytime you want. You could do it when you run to the bathroom during work, if you take a bathroom break, or you can do it when you're in a meeting and you're not really listening because you don't really care or whatever. You can meditate for a minute anywhere without anybody even realizing that you're doing it. And the beauty of the 1 minute is if you did it 10 times a day, you're already meditating for 10 minutes a day, and that's really good. So start with a minute. Grab a minute wherever you can. The best time, of course, is right away in the morning, but if you really struggle with meditating, try 1 minute sessions. They're amazing. So praying in the morning to start our day, it's and a great way to do that is with the set aside prayer. It's a great motivator. I also use prayers that bring me a feeling of the presence of my creator. I have specific ones that I use. Um, and it doesn't have to be big book prayers. It just has to be prayers you're going to say, and they are what puts you in your state of grace to start your day off. It's really an amazing thing. And people that have already started this practice can tell you it really makes a huge difference. If you give it 30 days, you'll be amazed when you look back at how much it's changed in your life. I actively focus my awareness to the presence of my higher power. I literally stop whatever I'm doing and look around me, and I feel the energy of being human, because I got to remember what got me here. And not because of the mess I'm in, but my actual existence in the universe. I also love to use music, mostly modern, like spiritual music or my favorite music, which makes it stronger for me to feel the energy that I'm trying to grasp. And the feeling of the vibration pulsing through my lungs and my vocal cords and the words of devotion, it's all in there for me. It's a no-brainer. It's like walking into a church with the organ playing, and it's just such a feeling. And I'm amazed at how fast and effectively it changes how I'm feeling when I implement that. And studies have shown that music touches your soul and it often evokes deep emotions. It creates a sense of connection and it provides solace or inspiration. And of course, genres like soul, gospel, instrumental music can be really effective in reaching inside on a profound level. So in the big book, it is written God as we understood him because Bill realized there were and would be agnostic and atheists in the group, and that many people resist organized and or traditional religion. So this is a very important phrase. And to me, it is saying you do not have to believe in anything along the lines of a dogma or a religion that was given to you familiarly. The 11th step is our understanding and ours alone, and that's okay. It is our individual creative concept. It's very personal. And for the resistive people who don't believe in something beyond yourselves, that's okay too. You don't have to believe in anything. But we will seek an awareness of ideals that we have created for ourselves. We don't create our God. We create our concept and awareness of a God that already exists. We pray and talk to our higher power, and we establish a relationship. I need to know better in order to do better, but I don't know how to do that. Therefore, my intention is to improve my conscious contact in order to be in the flow with the power, to be balanced by the steps through the knowledge and also by connecting to the power. Most of us know better, we just don't always do better. And that's where guilt and shame are born. So, sought, it's an odd word, but it is a word and it's an action word. And it's an intention to seek. It's definitely not a mindless act. You're definitely engaging your mind if you're seeking. And we seek for an understanding of what our higher power is that we have chosen for ourselves. It's very deeply personal. We seek to establish a relationship with power. It's not about the words or prayers we use, it is about the intention. I was in the program for a very long time before I realized I lacked an internal guidance because I shunned and didn't respect my childhood religion. It would take me many years to upgrade my definition of my creator, and when I did, the process of recovery sped up exponentially because I didn't know that I didn't know until I knew. Once I knew, I was then able to do something about my lack of support. And with prayer, it's about being fully present to yourself. This state of oneness is a unifying experience transcending in the mind. The power of prayer can move mountains and revive the seemingly impossible. The intensity of our intention becomes the prayer that commands the universe to respond, as it is a directive from within us. Prayer is primarily about the intention, sincerity, and condition of the heart, rather than eloquent or formulaic words. It is considered a personal connection with the divine, where raw vulnerability, silent reflection, and focused desire to align with God's will matter more than spoken articulations. And meditation is directed thinking by intentionally anchoring attention on a specific focus, such as you could do your breath, you could use a mantra, you could do bodily sensations. That way you're not just letting your mind wander freely. It's got something to do. If you can just go right into a zone, God bless you, go for it. But it is considered a conscious act, which means I make a very conscious choice to reach my higher power and to make a connection to start my day, to remind me to continue on this path throughout my day. I am reminded that I have a direct channel to a source of support that goes along with me throughout my days. Some days start out in a bustle, and I can forget that I am walking a new path with the support of my higher power. The routine of a morning meditation keeps me in a cleaner and clearer state of mind, and it stays with me once I start my day in this way. It's really amazing. If I forget and I do it at noontime, I'm already in a state of craziness. If I do it right at the beginning of my day, it changes. It's a game changer, truly. And then we have contemplation. And the importance of contemplation is the internal guidance that it gives us. Our moral compass is reawakened. It gives us a sense of balance that we're not used to having. I want to do better in each day, but I need the steps to get the knowledge, and then I need the power to fuel my day ahead. Bill encourages contemplation to help us move beyond mere abstinence from addiction toward a spiritual awakening. He believed contemplation was essential for reducing self-centeredness, which is the ego, improving conscious contact with a higher power, and achieving emotional sobriety. Bill emphasized that recovery is not just about stopped usage, but about achieving a real maturity and balance in relationships with oneself, others, and especially God. Contemplation allows for the examination of emotional disturbances and the surrender of destructive, unrealistic demands. So, again, prayer is when I'm talking to God, meditation is when I'm listening to God, and contemplation is being in the presence of God for the mere purpose of being in the presence. Through the 12 steps, with the guidance of my higher power, I have learned and understand how to do things differently and to also do them better because I have found the balance I need embedded in the 12 steps. But we have to get the knowledge first. Most of us know this, and this is the whole essence of unmanageability, right? Most of us know better. We just don't do better, and some of us just don't do better unconsciously. Most of us don't do better consciously, and that's where guilt and shame come in. So prayer, meditation, contemplation, I'm sure you've heard these words before, and they can cause some confusion. So again, prayer is talking to your higher power. It's about intention. It's not about the words. And if we use the religious way of talking to God, it becomes robotic, just memorized words being repeated. You could always try using the serenity prayer to consciously pray. If you are conscious of what you are saying, it will be soul penetrating. Speak slowly and thoughtfully. If you search diligently, you will find the power. If you think honestly, deep down inside of you, this is the only place you will find this. This is the unsuspected inner resource Bill talks about on pages 55, saying, sometimes we had to search fearlessly, but he was there. He was as much a fact as we were. We found the great reality deep down within us. The deflation of the ego is inevitable in recovery. We must all turn to the Father of Light that presides over us all. So in meditation, we listen. According to Webster's dictionary, meditation is a noun, a discourse intended to express its author's reflections or to guide others in contemplation or directed thinking. And so what do we listen for? Well, we listen for our higher power's presence to be wherever we are. Bill saw it as the fourth dimension of reality, and you will see this more when we do step 2. But Bill asks the question in chapter 4, where and how are we going to find this power? On page 55, Bill says, search diligently within yourself. Then, if you wish, you can join us on the broad highway. With this attitude, you cannot fail. The consciousness of your belief is sure to come to you. We ask God to direct our thinking. Anytime the Big Book suggests you talk to God, it's asking you for a prayer. God, please direct my thinking. It's that simple. So thinking about the 24 hours ahead, we consider our plans. What are we going to do today? Who am I going to be today? I want to be better than I was yesterday. I did things I want to learn from and be more mindful and to correct my character defects. If you get some guidance while you're doing your meditation, write it down. And Bill says, watch for resentment, fear, dishonesty, and selfishness when they crop up. Not if. We are human beings and we will likely never transcend our humanity. There are always areas needing to be smoothed out. The key for Herb in meditation is to think about the 24 hours ahead and listen to your thinking as the possible answer to your prayer. He says, in the thinking and considering, I realize the possibility that my very thoughts, feelings, memories, and imagination are very conceivably an answer to my prayers. It's that wee small voice. So I didn't know it was there. I didn't know that I would find my higher power deep within myself, the source of my soul, the breath of my breath, the life of my life, as Herb has said. I had no idea that this was where the source is that I was seeking. It was inside of me all this time. I sought outside myself for many, many years. A power inside me that is part of me, but separate from me, but always available to me. I'm going to repeat that as a very important fact. A power inside me that is part of me, but separate from me, but always available to me. And again, that wee small voice, or more accurately, the tiny whispering sound, which is very different from the wee small voice, it's what motivates us to improve our consciousness about our consciousness. Our out of control thinking is likely what got us into this mess, while our thinking and emotions contained will keep us here. Which brings us to the purpose and importance of meditation. to contain our thinking and to contain our emotions. So I manage my thinking and emotions. Therefore, my thinking and emotions are not managing me. We have free will, and this specifically makes us human, and we have a mind that thinks and a will that takes voluntary action. So we're all here to improve our conscious contact with our higher power. That's the purpose of the 12 steps, in Bill's opinion. Conscious contact seems pretty easy to do. At the top of page 14, Bill says, it's simple, but not easy. This is so important to remember. Memorize it. It's simple, but not easy. Not easy because there is a cost, and that cost is the destruction of our ego, our self-centeredness. This is our spiritual malady. It is the unmanageability of all of society. It's the deflation of our ego at depth that happens as we apply and walk our way through the 12 steps. The goal is to create or allow an effective relationship with power. Practice your practice and be faithful to your practice, and your practice will be faithful to you. And as human beings, we need to practice in order to get good at something or anything. A good example of practice is learning to ride a bike with this little cutie here. So we see a young child on a small two-wheel bike with training wheels. And if his parents are diligent and have the patience, eventually he will learn how to ride. Initially with the training wheels, and eventually take the training wheels off. And as he grows, they increase the size of his bicycle. It's the same formula as any other new skill. Practice, practice, practice. Contemplation is defined as a concentration on spiritual things as a form of private devotion, a state of mystical awareness of our higher power's being, an act of considering with attention. For me, it is very mystical, and I don't have all the answers, but in this new dimension, a true mystery that is beyond the senses and logic exists. Too complicated or incomprehensible for my small human mind. Bill says on page 55, you are going to find this power if you search diligently and fearlessly, if you think honestly deep down inside of you. And that is the only place you will find this, in the depths of your soul. Step 2 and 3 are assumptions of step 11, where step 2 is a decision about there being a higher power, whereas step 3 is the decision for a relationship with that power. And again, as Bill says on page 14 at the top, this is simple, but not easy. So here we have one of my favorite little things. It's called a whirling dervish, if people have heard of it before. A whirling dervish is a practitioner of the Sufi Mevlevi order, known for their ritualistic whirling dance called the Sama. This dance is a form of remembrance of God, where they spin to achieve a state of religious ecstasy and spiritual union with the divine. The practice is rooted in the teachings of the 13th century Persian poet Rumi, and their twirling is a symbolic representation of the celestial bodies rotating in the universe. The Sama ceremony is a structured ritual that involves music, poetry, and the whirling dance. Dervishes wear white robes representing death and rebirth, and a tall hat representing the tombstone. They begin by turning very slowly and gradually increase their speed and intensity is they enter a meditative state and they generally spin nonstop for about 15 minutes or more. There are some that I've heard have spun for 24 hours without stopping. When I was in the depth of my unmanageability, a friend came to my home from Turkey and brought me a statue of a whirling dervish. I had no idea what it was or what it meant. And when I looked it up and found out what it was, I was fascinated by them. And I felt like it really represented what I was trying to do in my own life. So, even something like this is considered meditation. People say that runners get a runner's high. That's kind of a meditative state also. There's lots of ways that you can meditate. Don't feel discouraged if you can't sit in the lotus position for 45 minutes and hum. It's really not about that. And the importance of the contemplation is the internal guidance that it gives. The moral compass is reawakened. It gives us balance that we are not used to having. Because I want to do better every day, but I need the steps to get the knowledge. And then I need the power to put gas in the car, metaphorically. I need the source of light to dispel the darkness that engulfs me on a daily basis. At some point, the light becomes bright enough to be placed in a position of neutrality. But our dimmer switch is hardwired to go backwards if we don't lean into it through our way of living steps 10, 11, and 12. I have a daily reprieve, which means receiving a temporary daily release from the cravings and consequences of addiction, contingent on maintaining spiritual and emotional health. It is the concept of staying sober one day at a time, requiring daily actions like steps 10, 11, and 12, because I am not cured of my unmanageability. I am not cured of my spiritual malady, and I am not cured of my self-will run riot. And then in the evening, we evaluate the components of tomorrow morning's meditation. We think, is there anything I didn't clean up today that I need to take care of tomorrow? Do I owe somebody an amends or an apology? And we do that at night, but we also will address it again in the morning meditation, but we do touch base with it at night. Bill says we think about the 24 hours ahead and we consider our plan for the day. He says we use our directed thinking upon awakening. Bill learned this practice from being in the Christian Oxford group. And it indirectly created what we know today of our AA meetings. But the Oxford group wanted Bill to mainly focus on Christianity and not the recovery message. Bill pretty much said, no, thank you. I have a different idea about my destiny. And he left the Oxford group the year his book was published. But he never lost his deep regard for the Oxford group, as their 6 steps gave him his spiritual awakening, which in turn gave him his freedom from his addiction, his unmanageability, and his spiritual way of living, and gratefully, the big book. And the big book says the definition of meditation is directed thinking. So upon awakening, we ask our higher power to direct our thinking for the day. On page 85, it says, what we have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. Every day is a day when we must carry the vision of God's will into all of our activities. How can I best serve thee? Thy will be done, not mine. These are thoughts that must go with us constantly. We can exercise our willpower along this way in all that we choose. It is the proper use of the will. So in the morning, upon arising, think about the 24 hours ahead. The keywords are on the screen. Think about your plans. What am I doing today? What does my day look like? Grab your calendar if you have to. I like to grab my calendar because I can't remember all my appointments. And keep a pad of paper handy in case you get some guidance while you're doing the meditation. Absolutely is a great idea. You can ask yourself, is there anything in my plans that interfere with my principles of spirituality and my relationship with reality? Who do I want to be today? Am I going to be controlling and judgmental? My answer is that I am going to try to be less controlling and less judgmental today than I was yesterday. There are going to always be parts of ourselves that need addressing because we're human. This is how Herb conquered his difficulty with meditation. He says, think about the 24 hours ahead, consider your plans for the day, and listen. Meditation is directed thinking, so listen to your thinking as the possible answer to your prayers, and ask your higher power to direct your thinking. Then I began to think and evaluate, and I realized that in my thoughts and intentions, I can assume and I'm willing to believe that my very thoughts are a gift or an answer to my prayer. My thoughts, my feelings, my sensations, my imaginations, my memories, I try to be acutely aware of all of this. Is just my ego intruding, also known as my small voice, my self-absorbed voice, the tiny whispering sound. We get still and we stay silent because that's how the message comes through from the higher power. It's a very tiny whispering sound. You really have to stay focused on it. So the first part is the evening inventory. It's not just about liability. Some of it is about what your plans are to contribute to tonight or tomorrow and to ask, how did I do today? And it's not about judging yourself. It's just to see how far you've come or what you're doing. It's a condensed repetition of step 4 and a step bigger than step 10, but it is also a repetition. It should be done daily. And there are 3 inventories indicated in the steps, with step 4 being the heavy hitter, the mother load, my favorite one. Then step 10, the spot check inventory, which is when I am disturbed, there's something wrong within me. Not something or someone outside of me, but something within me. Then the step 10 inventory, which we do at the conclusion of our day. There are no parameters of time. It can be a minute or an hour. There is no particular process. We will all have a personal way of doing it in whatever way to develop our consciousness practice. So take a quick sweep of your day. What needs cleaning up? What do you want to do differently tomorrow? And the big book suggests talking to your higher power through simple, honest prayer and meditation, often described as the language of the heart or direct conversation rather than formal rituals. It encourages asking for guidance and strength in the morning and reviewing actions at night, fostering a constant companionship rather than only calling in emergencies, which I love that statement. Bill suggests that talking to a higher power is a form of prayer and communication. It specifically describes step 11 as using prayer and meditation to improve conscious contact with God, often interpreted as talking, which is prayer, and listening, which is meditation. And it would go something like this: God, please direct my thinking today. Please keep it on a positive track or non-judgmental or whatever you're dealing with at the time. And it sounds simple, and it actually really is. This is a very simple part of the program. So containment is key. Water in its destructive form, such as what you're seeing here with the van, is out of control. It can destroy people's homes, their land, vacations, and it leaves its mark of destruction in its wake. But water in my kitchen, it's quite necessary. I cannot live without drinking water or water for cleaning, showering, etc. The water is the same entity. The difference is one is out of control and the other is contained. W viewed the containment of feelings or emotional sobriety as moving away from relying on others for validation and instead managing our own emotional center of gravity. He argued that true stability comes from releasing unhealthy dependencies and demands, allowing for a quiet place and bright sunshine, free from the extremes of elation or depression. Our thinking and emotions contained will keep us clear. That is one of the purposes of meditation. We contain our emotions and thinking so that we are able to manage them so that they are not managing us. Bill saw the 12 steps leading to emotional sobriety. Sobriety is not just about no longer using. The goal is to become spiritually awakened, to have found some degree of detachment from our own emotions. Our emotions are not disruptive unless we are attached to them. They are helpful, they are indicators and symptoms of what's going on, but they're not fact. Bill viewed the containment of feelings or emotional sobriety as moving away from relying on others for validation and instead managing our own emotional center of gravity. He argued that true stability comes from releasing unhealthy dependencies and demands, allowing for a quiet place in the sunshine, free from extremes of elation or depression. Our thinking and emotions contained will keep us clear. That is one of the purposes of meditation. We contain our emotions and thinking so that we are able to manage them so that they're not managing us. When we get into trouble with our emotions and they really start to bog us down, the desire to use is much stronger. So our out of control thinking is likely the main factor of what got us into our messes. It totally is or was for me. Our thinking and emotions contained will keep us in the right state of mind and out of our self-will run riot. That way, I am managing my thinking and emotions, not thinking and emotions managing me. And the two things that make us specifically human is that we have a thinking mind and a will that decides, that takes free actions, voluntary actions, and you will see more about this as we go along. Excuse me. In steps 1 through 9, the rocket launch Bill talks about in step 1. We get into a rocket as our part and we climb aboard, but once we get on board, the rocket takes us to where the rocket's going. And we have some ability to manage or steer the rocket, but the rocket's going to take us where it wants to take us, which is into orbit around the light. It's a 3-part launch. First, 1 through 3 is a relationship with our higher power, the power. The second part is steps 4 through 7, our relationship with ourselves. And third, steps 8, 9, and 10, our relationship with others, and we are in orbit around that light. Once we're in orbit, we won't stay in orbit unless we build a spiritual shield that protects us from our addiction and protects us from our unmanageability, and we will stay free of our addiction as long as we stay in relationship with our source of power. We stay in that power in relation to the extent that we remove the obstacles to the relationship in step 10, and we maintain that relationship by improving our consciousness in step 11, by continuing to remove the obstacles in our evening inventory. Bill's white light mountaintop experience was the great event of his life, providing a lasting sense of security, which he later referred to as a higher power. This, along with his subsequent work helping other alcoholics, constituted the shield that prevented him from ever drinking again. While Bill later explored other methods of accessing this spiritual shield, including his interactions with his spiritual advisor, Father Ed Dowling, his 1934 white light experience remained the cornerstone of his recovery and the foundation of the 12-step program. Father Ed Dowling, a Jesuit priest and key spiritual advisor to Bill, described the spiritual shield against alcoholism as a reliance on humility, fellowship, and a negative path to God, which means backing away from hell. He believed that one could achieve spiritual survival by using the realization of one's faults as a catalyst to turn to God. In step 12, we're guided by the principles that prompt us to think, feel, and behave, which come from inside of us, not from outside of us. This is when I realized that my life was an inside job. Part of my poor behaviors were due to inadequate care as a child and social pressure, and none of which were mine. Even my early religious views, they were someone else's. But as my spiritual experiences grew, I made the choices to shed the false costumes I had been wearing. The 12 steps has given me so many tools that showed me the way to my beliefs through conscious contact with my higher power, through my meditation and more. And I drudged through it for many years as an almost impossible mediator. Sometimes a guided meditation helped me. There is a short one on YouTube called Sitting in the Power. It's really excellent. I think it's 20 or 25 minutes. But for me, the change in my meditation work came when I stopped believing it had to be done in a specific way. That just didn't work for me. It just has to be done imperfectly. It's the discipline and the intention that are most important boxes for me to tick off. And I encourage you to start small, build up your meditation prayer and contemplation time. As you grow, it will grow with you and vice versa. So we understand that step 11 is that we have a daily practice. You have a special chair or spot. You might light some candles, maybe add some music, and just sit there because it is a task for you to accomplish meditation. It's a task for you to become spiritual. But you are as powerless over your prayer and meditation as you are over your addiction. Having no power at all, I sit in the presence of power. I'm humbled by my powerlessness and grateful for the ability to be aware of it. People on a spiritual path have a spiritual practice, and they practice their practice. And when they practice their practice and are faithful to their practice is faithful to them. So there was a lot of practice in there. And you are only responsible for the effort because the end results are not in your hands. Don't judge or evaluate your meditation. There are only two mistakes you can make. One is not showing up, and the second is cutting out early. If you have committed to even 5 minutes a day, set your timer, and the timer will tell you when you're done. You don't even have to think about how long am I meditating. Use a timer. And Herb says, if you want to know if your meditation practice is making a difference in your life, you can do a couple of things. After about 3 or so or more months, ask your partner how you have been treating them. I noticed that I became less aggressive, less argumentative, and less judgmental towards my family, and was even making amends more often and right away. I pay attention to my driving. I have been notoriously aggressive in the car. I need the people around me to be faster, smarter, get out of my way, run the lights so I can run it with you, that whole thing. Such a big control issue. I noticed I wasn't beeping and yelling at other drivers anymore. And I also stopped being a backseat driver. And how about retail people? That's another one for me. Well, I started noticing I wasn't blatantly yelling at all of them anymore, especially Walmart. I stopped trying to make them be something they weren't, just to ease my fears and to comfort my need for control. My head and my feelings generally would lie to me. They are not a valid indicator of my progress, but my behaviors never lie. And Bill says we conclude our period of meditation with a prayer that requests that we be shown the way all throughout our day. Or we can ask what our next step is to be taken and what we need to take care of, and we end our meditation. When I start my day, I like to start it with the seventh step prayer, which is on the screen. This, this prayer is a request to a higher power to remove character defects that hinder one's ability to be helpful to others and to oneself. As I go out from here to do your bidding, is referring to my leaving the launching pad, sending my rocket into orbit. So, prayer, what is it? It's just literally an intimate conversation. Why do we do it? We do it to create a relationship with what we believe to be the source of power. In the 12-step programs, it is your choice as to what you believe about God, the higher power, the source, the creator, or even something you totally name yourself. But it's always your choice, and it's indisputable, whatever you choose. And what do you believe about God? Who is your creator? What do you believe about consciousness? Is it a being, a force, or something else entirely? Did the universe have a beginning? And if it did, what came before that? What is the purpose of creation and existence? Is there evidence of a creator? Where can I find that? Ask, ask these important questions. And Herb has been referring to it as the mystery or the flow because there are no factual answers. There is no documentation because it isn't important. We don't need to know. We just need to believe. And we can hope there is and act like there is. And if it's true, that's great. Step 11 is our relationship with a higher power, or whatever that title may come to mean for you. And the point of whether it's real or not really is a moot point because when you take on these behaviors and ways of thinking, your life is going to improve. And the inevitable end result is conscious contact. That's the goal. We want contact with consciousness, the higher power. And what is meditation? It's just thinking and listening in a predetermined place, hopefully. And why do we do it? Some people do it for mental health, some do it for physical well-being, but step 11 is not about any of that. Step 11 is theology, not biology or psychology. It is about our relationship with the theos, a state of mystical awareness of a higher power's being, the act of regarding steadily. Theos, the God of our not understanding. So this is an image related to being a sponsor or step guide. I am not the light, but I am a channel of the light, shining the light of my experience on the path so that others have their own experience with that light. The consciousness practice for becoming a lantern is this: I am responsible for the effort, not the results. It is a journey, not a destination. But this is not a feeling, so to speak. Feelings are a sand trap, quicksand for addicts. Feelings are really important, wonderfully important for survival and for navigating life. In the spiritual life, though, if we chase all of our feelings, we will chase the spirit away. It's not about feelings. Feelings are biochemical reactions to my perception of reality. Meditation is not a chemical reaction. It's an alchemic reaction, a combination of the mind and the will in connection with God's grace, which Herb calls self-realization. And we become a lantern so that we can light the path to freedom. And we become a lantern either through being a sponsor or a step guide or any way within the program that you can help another fellow with whatever's going on for them. So once you have had that spiritual enlightenment, it's really important to light that path for the people that are going to come behind you. And that concludes the PowerPoint, which is good because I bet everybody has tons of questions. Well, go ahead, River.
Hey, okay, hey. So this is for me. Well, okay. Give me a second to see how I can word this. When I came to first start doing this work, I had a really tough time with the word God, um, and seeing it as equal to religion. And so for people who have that challenge and even maybe so much of the block to even be able to implement 10, 11, 12 is there's so much spiritual connotation, which seems to always then come back to the word God. How would you encourage someone to either work through that, to stick with it, all those kind of things? I know what my experience was in the things I needed to do, but that was just for me personally. I use a different word now, and that word changes over time, but it was real tough for me to sit and hear the reference quite often. So thanks.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Even for myself, God was a very big religious connotation, and I didn't want anything to do with religion. So I felt like the God part had to go with it. And one of the things I struggled with the God name is that um, it it comes from such a very far away place, and it came from a time when people did believe in gods plural, like the god of rain and the god of war and the god of this and that. Um, so for me, it wasn't up to date enough, and I had to figure out when I figured out what my God was, what it was going to be called. Um, it stopped offending me because I realized God and religion weren't my way, but there's somebody else's way, and that's okay. It's just not mine. But what I ended up staying with um, is the creator because I feel like that encompasses the whole thing for me. But I don't any longer have a problem saying God, higher power, um, Allah, whatever name people use for God, because it's about the intention, not the word. And again, we get caught up on a lot of words. If the word God is giving you some pause, find a different word. It's totally okay. That's what this whole 10, 11, 12 is about. It's about finding that power. You could just use that word if you want. It's about finding that power and calling it whatever you want to call it. Somebody in the group, I can't remember if it was this group or the last group, was using a unicorn, called it unicorn. It the name doesn't change the fact of what it is to the person that names it. Now, if somebody came up to you, Rivers, and said, "Your higher power has to be called God because that's what I'm telling you has to happen. It just wouldn't work. It's not your thing. For somebody else, that's fine. Let them do their thing. But everyone has to have their own concept, or you're not gonna take it on full effect.
Mhm.
It won't be enough. So if you feel like you're still kind of bouncing around with names because you're not sure what you want to use, just keep using different ones. The intention is already set. The name is not important. And I'll give you a little example. When I was growing up, I had four sisters, and my father wasn't good with names. And we all had multitudes of names that usually were run-ons of three older sisters when he got to the fourth one. We didn't have to hear our name. We knew what he meant. We knew who he was talking to. It was just a word. We knew when we were in trouble. Didn't matter what he called us. So find the word that feels good because it's not going to change who your higher power is. It's just going to make you feel closer to whatever that is because you're okay with the word that you're using.
How would you encourage, say, someone new to doing this type of work and stuff? It's like uh, to work through that until to work through like hearing it over and over again to finally get to we go to step one. You know what I mean? Because starting with 10, 11, 12, there's more emphasis on that piece than looking at our powerlessness. So, how would you encourage someone to either work through what's coming up for them or, that makes sense?
Yeah, just pick whatever feels right today. You could change it every day if you wanted to. I know Herb has been changing his name for a while. He was using power. I think he used power for 5 years, and now he's using the word flow. That's his
Oh,
new word for his higher power.
let me clarify. What I mean is like hearing, so you or hearing Herb saying God or even referring to, those. So hearing it over, not that they can't internally come up with their own word, hearing it over and over instead of saying, oh my gosh, I can't handle hearing that anymore. I'm going to leave. I want to say, don't leave before the miracle. But so working through hearing it, I guess, was what I'm asking for clarification.
I think what I would tell you is what I was saying a few PowerPoints back, which is our feelings and our thinking are pretty skewed. So if we're in a situation where we're getting a lot of help and we're really making great strides and a word is bothering us, um, we deal with the emotion about the word because that's probably telling us something. Um, because usually words aren't the the problem. It's the meaning that we've put on the word. So like for you, when you hear God, maybe you have a trigger of, oh gosh, I went through this whole religious thing as a child and I can't hear those words. It it we have to come to a place where we realize somebody using a word that upsets our life, we can't take personally. And that's part of the recovery process. We don't take things personally, like somebody's choice of what they call their higher power. Um, and if it's something that's really made a barrier to your recovery, uh, definitely talk to somebody about it. Try to get to the bottom of it. Maybe even do a fourth step on that word and why it's so upsetting. Like a resentment thing or a fear train, even. Maybe it's a fearful word for somebody. But in the beginning, I would say talk to somebody within a group that you're in where it's coming up, or a sponsor, or a step guide or whatever, or even the person that's running the meeting. Have a conversation with them till you feel like you can tackle it yourself. Because yeah, it's one of those things in a group. We're going to hear things that are
Yeah.
upsetting. A lot of things are triggers.
Great.
But
Thank you. And that helps me to support others as well. So I
yeah,
appreciate you putting it into words. Thanks.
yeah. Thanks for Go ahead, Jill.
I thought I would share my experience with what Rivers was talking about. When I first started, how I handled it was because I heard people saying, it can be your own thing. but God, you can define it yourself. So whenever I heard the word God, I made up my own name and I said, well, they're really saying, I'm talking to myself. I'm saying, well, they're really saying it's the they use the word God, but I know it's cosmic dust. Or I know they're saying God, but what it means to me is light. So I would just, whatever I would just give them grace, the people who use the word God, and just say, well, that's what they're comfortable with. And then I'd replace it with what I was comfortable with. In the same way, like in the Bible, the word sin triggers me. To me, it is the most sad word and such a blaming word. So, but somebody helped me to hear the word, when I hear the word sin, that it really just means hurt. And I was like, oh my gosh, if I just hear someone say sin and I say, well, they're just saying what they're really saying is hurt, because the reality is, how do I know what they're really thinking when they say God, or what somebody's really thinking when I have no control over I don't know. I only have control with my own thinking. So I don't want them to control me or whatever. So this has really helped me just be aware of what I need to be thinking about as I work recovery. So that's how it played out for me. So I thought I'd share.
That's great, Jill. Thank you. And it made me think of something. It's like Rivers, when I'm reading the big book, every other word is alcoholic, and I'm not an alcoholic. And at first I was like, I don't know if I can get past that. I'm not an alcoholic, and I've spent a lot of time with alcoholics that I've had issues with. I had to really think about that. And now I just make like a crossing out in my mind, and I replace the word alcoholic with addict because that just covers everything. So yeah, there's going to be stuff that comes up, and you got to kind of in your mind say, yeah, I'm crossing that word out because I used a different word. And that's okay. That's personalizing it. So it's actually kind of a good thing. Go ahead, Mark.
Uh, yeah, I have two parts to the to what I wanted to do. One, I wanted to address the first thing that came up, and then another one I was going to kind of address the homework a little bit, if that's okay.
Yep.
So I in my first program, I had a friend who really kind of helped me with my recovery, even though I've always been a believer. And this person was a complete atheist, but there was all these interesting things that his sponsor came up with him as replacements for a lot of the stuff that even was mentioned during the PowerPoint, because he really didn't believe. So, for example, like in terms of like really getting any kind of feedback from a higher power, because he didn't really experience anything, he would literally go to the group. So, for example, there was an issue. The people who were respected members that had information about that issue, he would talk to them about that issue for real. His way to do meditation, for example, was reading poetry. And there were other things sort of like that. And then over time, it became like less of a confrontation. And he would end up talking to his sponsor, and it would be like, what is God's will? And then God's will was whatever the next right thing was. So over time, when his sponsor would say that to him, he wouldn't shudder, or it wouldn't be like, it would just be, well, the next thing I need to do is go to a meeting, or the next thing I need to do is go to work. Or when my wife says this, I do the opposite. You know what I mean? And all these different things kind of like that. And then along the lines of that, even though, for example, I'm a believer, they told me, even with my first program, that this is a bunch of instructions. It's just a bunch of instructions, and we need you to follow the instructions. You know what I mean? And it's not really the same thing as your actual faith. So that's what I would say about the first part, is just X, like A through Z, and we just do one, two, three, four, and if we need help, we get help at every step of the way. Um, so where I got it, and I still kind of struggle, unfortunately, doing the homework, and that's probably like resistance and just really the addiction. But so like prayer, it just like kind of like the act or ceremony of speaking to God or God, especially giving thanks or ask for help, or the words used in doing that. And I wanted to read that because I realize sometimes that it doesn't always have to be like a formal thing. Like even if I'm just sort of like thinking about HP, then I think that's pretty cool too. And then like meditation, the act of focusing your attention on one thing, either as a religious activity or as a way to become calm and relaxed. And it's kind of interesting because like I do a lot of like affirmation stuff and this and that, but this is a reminder that when I'm thinking about the problem, I'm also meditating. So if I'm really like caught up in resentment, then I'm meditating on resentment, literally. You know what I mean? And the same thing, like sort of like with contemplation, like concentration on spiritual things as a form of private devotion. That's the same thing. Like either like so, like I have a choice. I can either like focus. I can either meditate on God, or I can contemplate on God, or I can contemplate on my addiction and my lack and my limitation, which is the main issues I'm continuing to work on, around, one of my money addictions. And just to kind of wrap up what I need to say is what kind of came up is like, what I'm working towards is on page 85 is the problem being removed. But I think even if the problem is removed today, it's not necessarily removed tomorrow. And that's the thing sometimes that I forget. It might be removed today, but like what you guys are telling me, it's a daily reprieve based on my spiritual condition. And that's what like I still get into like the little trap is that, oh, okay, well, why is it so hard today? It was easy yesterday. Oh, okay, but it was removed yesterday, not forever. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that is tough, Mark. It is only removed in the day because that's all we have. Um, and the reason it doesn't get removed permanently is because we can't completely shut our minds off from our unmanageability. There'll always be unmanageability surrounding us. It'll come down to a matter of whether or not we engage that unmanageability or not. And that's all the program can do for us because we're going to have unmanageability. We're human. It goes hand in hand. So if you're trying to overcome one particular thing, yeah, you got to do it one day at a time. You string about 100 of those days together, and you might see some end result that seems like it's actually working. Um, but it is daily, and some of the ones that really give us a run for our money are the ones that linger like that, and we've really got to go deeper and figure out what's beneath the beneath that's really catching us.
I forgot one last thing actually, because I did have I did have a really big breakthrough. Can I just share
Yeah,
that? So
definitely.
so I actually I had a whole gang of them, but the one I wanted to remember, the one I wanted to say just because it came up to mind, is that along the lines of what we're doing, we're talking about the system, and the system is the steps. But it kind of like hit me today, and I was sharing with a friend, in this in the it was actually in all of my programs really, but I was realizing that just like there's a system for me and my spirituality, it really hit me. I need that for my business affairs, and that I need that, and that's where the like so it's sort of like an analog version, or however you say it. It just hit me that I need that system outside of me, if that makes sense, and that'll make my life easier as well. Is putting more systems in place, like just like this system of like the 10, 11, 12, or so forth and so on. And I thought that might be helpful.
Absolutely. I mean, when you consider the amount of time that you focus on your problem, you would want to have at least equal amount of time spent on the solution, which we don't actually hear, actually realize that sometimes, but you got to look at it that way too. Go ahead, Joel.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Joel.
Great to be here. Um, it's funny. When I was a lawyer, um, there's certain ways that you can come at being a lawyer. Some lawyers in some fields are very, very adversarial, very confrontational, and that's the way that they are in their practice, because some fields of law are very confrontational. I got into a field of law initially that was very, very much in the vein of not social work, but more in the vein of helping people who were otherwise underrepresented in society, people who had mental illness and developmental disabilities. And I found my calling because I really grew to, I mean, I thought originally I was going to be a guy who was going to do that for a couple of years, learn some things about litigation, then move on and make $1 million. And what happened was that I actually found that after a while, it was my calling that I actually realized that I loved representing people who were developmentally disabled and mentally ill. And that I really found that helping these people was something that was like wonderful. And it didn't hurt that I was earning a good living doing it, you know. But in that representation, I found that I was able to do something that had something to do with the steps, and it had nothing to do with me knowing the steps. It just happened to be not because I was a better person than anybody else, or because it just happened that in my makeup, I was able to say to people, I'm sorry, there was something there's something that's happening and I effed up, or I need to say to you, we need to do something different, or we need to work this out in a different way. And it worked for me. It actually helped me in my practice as a lawyer to become closer with other lawyers and to work things out with them. And I brought it into my uh, into my life. And sometimes it worked really well, but every once in a while I met up with somebody who was so confrontational that they couldn't understand where I was coming from, that it was so alien to them that they couldn't conceive of somebody who was trying to actually work something out with them on a level that wasn't confrontational. And it happened to me recently, not recently, about a year ago. On it had nothing to do with a legal problem, but I it blew me away that even in a non-legal sort of setting, I was confronted with a person who and I knew nothing even a year ago about the 12 steps. I had no knowledge of any 12-step program. I had never been in a 12-step program. And this issue, well, it was actually about a year and a half ago. And this whole issue of me needing the 12 steps was alien to me. I had no knowledge of it. So it blew me away that I was at loggerheads with the person who was one of these confrontational people, and I was no longer a lawyer or in a legal setting. And now I am sort of understanding this concept of being able to let down your guard from the 12-step perspective. And it makes me feel so humbled as to like feel like I want to cry sometimes because it is such an empowering and at the same time humbling thing. It comes at you from two different sides because it really should be the nature of every relationship in the world. If every legal and political relationship were confronted from the relationship of the 12 steps and from the relationship of an understanding of higher power and of what people need to really just like be at one, the world would be such a better place, you know? And it's just a shame that we go through cycles of history and of people hating one another and of scapegoating and of all the negativity and of pogroms and mass murder and of all the stuff that at any rate I don't want to get into the stupid big issues and all that, but it blows me away how humbling and how wonderful this is. The other thing that I wanted to mention, which I don't know if I mentioned last week, but you and I have had discussions about higher power. And and that I've had a problem because atheism, agnostic, and my upbringing, I didn't know higher power. But I had an experience like yours where I sort of found higher power, and I think I did mention it. And I'm actually like I haven't had anything as deeply as I had since that first time, but it's actually growing, you know? And I haven't been doing a regular, I guess I'm learning as I'm going, and I haven't been praying or meditating in any sort of an organized fashion, although I'm doing a little bit of it. If I remember to wake up in the morning, the dog's not licking my nose, wanting to go out and get fed, I sort of remember to sort of like try and do it a little bit in bed before I get up and all that, but it does work a little bit, and if I get to think about it during the day and as I'm like doing a little gardening or walking outside, it does help a little bit and it actually does straighten out the day. And it does help with taking if you do the 10th, the 10th step, not that I'm that familiar with it, but if you do actually um, think about how you might have um, uh, done something wrong, and you take the I forget the word, and you sort of you make amends, or you set yourself up to make amends, and you can actually apologize to somebody.
Yeah.
It frees you up. It just frees you of the burden of and all the agita that you go through. And it actually just helps you with that person. You know, the relationships change and become so much better because you're able to like break down the wall and just say to that person, hey, I effed up, or you know, I rethought the position that I took on something, and maybe you were right, or let's compromise, or something like that. So, even taking a position and saying to them, maybe I can let down my guard a little bit and meet you halfway, if not fully say I'm wrong or I'm right. That's enough sometimes to break down a wall, you know, and
Absolutely, yeah. If
yeah,
you're willing to be humble, then the person you're making an amends to will likely be the same.
that's right. That's
It
right.
starts with us. It always starts with us.
That's right. And
And
for them, it has nothing to do with step 10 or step 4 or anything like
nope,
that. It has to do with just being a human being. And
exactly.
that's what I was responding to when I was a lawyer and knew nothing about step 10 or step 4. But
Right.
as thinking about it, through the 12 steps, yeah, it's and thinking about it through relationship with higher power, yeah, it really is so important, you
Yeah.
know.
And if you're struggling with the meditation and the 10th step at night, you can always do contemplation, which is basically just feeling a connection to your higher power. Like maybe you're puttering in the garden and you're I don't know, you're looking at this stuff that's growing and it connects you to the power that created whatever it is. That's a contemplation type of setting where you're going to get just as much out of that as you might from a meditation.
Right.
You
Well,
know,
that's the whole thing. I mean, maybe that's, I don't know if I mentioned this and maybe I did. I don't want to repeat myself from week to week. I just don't have a great memory of what I said. But, maybe that the contemplation comes into my perception of what higher power is now. And
yeah,
that is that when I thought about my children and I thought about my dogs and the things that I love in this world, and I think about their first breath, that became my higher power.
yeah,
That baby's breath and the things that I love. I can't explain lightning, but I can't explain their first breath as a scientist can or whatever, but I can explain that I love it so much and that that to me losing it or whatever that is, that to me is the thing, so
yeah,
that became higher power to me. And
yeah,
whether that's contemplation
yeah.
or my that's my belief in higher power, and that
That's fantastic. And that's the beauty of when you have a spiritual awakening. We want to have it over and over again because, of course, we're addicts. We want more, more, more. But often what happens is we get that great burst of an awakening, and then we get a lot of little experiences and stuff that go with it because you really, once you're awakened, you're awake. You
yeah,
might forget you're awake and need a reminder, but that big spiritual awakening is kind of a one-shot deal in a sense. It's
yeah,
like birth.
right,
You've been born into something or someone different, someone new.
right. Continuous adrenaline rushes
Yeah.
lead to heart attacks, so you
Yes,
can't do it all the time,
exactly.
but right,
Right.
but you can, yes,
Yeah. So keep up the good work.
yeah,
Do the contemplation until you get to the next step. You're evolving. So, you have to allow some grace here and realize that this is an involvement. This is an unpeeling. It takes time. It takes purpose. It takes grace. And you allow that to happen.
yeah. Well, whatever it is, it's good.
It's excellent.
Yeah.
Great work, Joel.
Well, thank you.
All right. So let's see. I'm going to pause the recording and I'm going to remember to turn it. Okay. HM, I think it's Heidi.
She is Heidi. Hi.
Yeah, I thought so.
But I have nothing to say because I just before me somebody said but everything I wanted to say. So it's kind of like yes, I second it. Thank you
That's
so much
great.
for your presentation and everybody who shares. It's just amazing to have this group together and someday you're gonna see my face, but I don't wanna see me right now. That's what it is.
That's okay.
It's
No
it's a
worries.
self acceptance, uh yeah, missing something here, yeah,
Yeah,
which is coming with the all the oh god, codependency, everything I'm working on now. Anyway, I just wanted to say about this god thing. It was how it's evolved. Actually, I am evolving, obviously, in my
right,
life. There was a time when there was this great God up there, old man, just like Santa Claus, I guess now. I didn't know that then, but he's watching me, and then yeah, and I have to go to the priest and confess even my thoughts. As a child, I was like, wow, this is very scary actually to have a God like that, right? Like,
right.
okay, he knows everything, even if I don't do it, but I was thinking about it. Anyway, so I lost that one, of course. And I when I came to America, because I thought that there is, okay, this Christian Catholic God, the only God, right? At least, yeah. And then I came to America, and it was like churches everywhere, and all kind of a people are celebrating, and they talking about God or whatever they call it, because it's whatever we call it. it's the same thing we are talking about. Actually, it doesn't matter. There is
Yeah.
only one. And so I became like this spiritual seeker for many, many years. And I thought that I got enlightenment in my life because now I know everything, right? I am not just Catholic, I am um, interfaith person. I can embrace everybody, and oh my God, this is wonderful. And then I ended up in AA, right? Because that goes so far. And AA was talking about God. And first time I heard about the big book, and it was like, I'm going home and rewrite the whole thing. This is all wrong here. Cross out the God and say it's a source or universe or whatever. It was very important. The he has to be a she, or that wasted time. I don't know, but that was at a stage and age, I guess. And now it really doesn't matter, is it? Thank God. I am like, okay, if somebody is talking about God, I know what she's talking about. Okay, I know. And it just feels like a mystery, isn't it? It is really like that. We never
Yes,
can really know God. And if you name it, you are already in trouble. So,
that's right. To name it is to diminish it. So yes, that's
yes,
true.
yes. Thank
Yep.
you so much for everything you do. And
Thank
everybody
you.
who says thank you.
Thank you for speaking up tonight. We'll see your face when you're ready. All right. Does anyone else want to ask anything or talk or anything? Okay. Then we can do the serenity prayer. Anyone that wants to also do it can unmute or mute, whichever way you want. God, please
God,
grant us the serenity
serenity
to
to
accept the
accept the
things
things we
we
cannot
cannot
change,
change,
the
the
courage to
courage to change
change the things we
we
can, and
and the wisdom.
wisdom to know the difference.
Amen. Okay,
Yeah.
everybody. Great job. Keep up the good work. I
Mhm.
forgot to ask, Mark, did you do the homework or did you do the alternate lesson?
You mean me?
Yeah, you, Mark. Did you do the alternate or did you do the homework?
I didn't know what the alternate was, so I just did whatever the bit from the little green sheet. I didn't do the other thing. No.
Okay.
I did the alternate.
Oh,
I,
good.
well, yeah, reflecting on personal value and self-acceptance. Yeah. And that was a good assignment,
Good. Good.
because of what we talked about
Mhm.
last time.
Yeah,
Um, that I have a capacity to love and care about people. I can contribute positively. Usually I'm an optimist. Old, but I can still strong enough to do work for a while. I like to be creative. Um, but when I worry about not being honest, I fear rejection. And I don't like arguing. I've always avoided conflict. The people pleasing was a big defect.
yeah,
And so, yeah, reflecting on that. And I liked what that thing you did send out about, I printed it out. A lot of times it's because we don't think we're good enough or that we're enough,
exactly.
you know. Um,
I mean, that's reason enough to be dishonest, I think.
mhm.
It's
Yeah.
a pretty good motivator, even though it's not the truth.
Mhm.
If we think that, then we're going to behave accordingly.
Mhm. Well, and really after 15 years and so many times going through the steps, so much self-loathing has disappeared.
Mhm.
It's, phenomenal. It's just like I'm living a different life, you know.
And that's a huge mountain to take down.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We have this huge mountain and we think, oh God, and I've done the class or the steps or the program so many times. Well, because we have to.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely
Yeah,
not a one and done, you know?
no, no. But yeah.
Mark, your question, last week when I was talking to Anita, we were talking about self-esteem basically, and I said if you don't want to do the homework, you can do the self-esteem, have a whole week of taking care of yourself, like really catering to yourself. And you were very on board. I'm surprised you forgot it. But when I sent the homework out, I put it right in the homework that you didn't have to do it. You could do the opposite. So go ahead
But
and do that, Mark, if you want this week.
but no. Um,
Go
can I
ahead,
ask a
Joel.
question? Yeah. I'm confused. Where is that? Because I'm looking at the sheet now that has the
All right.
number 3 on it, and I'm looking at it. Where is that assignment? Because I'm saying it's meditation step 11, and
Yep.
then I'm looking at it. I'm saying where is that with all the questions on it? There, I'm saying it's got the Zoom summary 41626,
Yeah.
and then it
All
says
right.
consider this week's homework to be reflecting on personal value.
Yes.
But
Mhm.
it doesn't have I don't understand where
So,
Okay, okay. Let me jump in a second. Okay, to be honest, yeah, no, I did do that. I did that every day, but I didn't consider it homework. So yeah, I did do that. Sorry.
oh, okay. Good.
but
That's good.
I'm
But
confused.
Joel, it's right on the homework sheet. It's literally at the top. If you're looking at the actual homework sheet with the, the reading stuff and the video and all that, it's right at the top. I put an arrow with it. Are you looking at the right week, maybe?
I'm looking at number 3.
It's
Maybe.
dated April 17th.
It's the first one. It's the very first one. All participants consider this week's homework to be reflective on personal value and self-acceptance.
Oh, no, no, that's not what I'm looking at. I have the one that says meditation step 11.
I'm trying to think which one you have.
That's the one that I thought that was this week's.
Well, that's, yeah, meditation, step 11,
It says
next steps.
meditation. All right, yeah, it says meditation, step 11, next steps. It says Zoom summary.
Mhm.
You see that?
Yes.
And then those
Right?
bullet points.
See that big arrow?
Yes. No,
Follow
no,
the arrow.
I'm following the arrow. It says all participants consider this week's homework to be reflecting on personal value and self-acceptance,
There you
as
go.
suggested by Lisa. Though formal homework reading assignment is waived this week, Lisa, 12stepspath.com, send out email about this week's homework assignment, waiving traditional homework. All participants complete the step 10 spot check. So inventory. So then where is that step 10 spot check inventory?
All right, so a spot check inventory is not a sheet or anything. You actually just do it. There is an app, and I think it's called step10.com or something like that, but you could Google it. But a step 10 inventory is you take a quick view of your day at the end of the day,
Right.
and you see where you might have gone off the path that you were hoping to be on. And if that includes instances where maybe you owe somebody an apology or an
Right,
amends,
right.
you do that.
And I know that. But there were specific questions that like Anita was talking about, specific things that she had. Maybe, you know, it seemed like she had a specific bullet point list that she was going down, that she actually was looking at, that she actually was reading from, or maybe it's because she's been practicing for so
That was
long.
my journaling. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Those are her answers.
Oh, okay. I thought
Yeah,
that because
no involvement.
it
Yeah,
seemed like she knew what she was doing so well
yeah.
that she actually was going from a list, you know?
No, no, she just was very organized and
All
put it
right. Okay.
Can I
Well,
can I
bullet.
can I ask can I ask a favor? Can you add it to next week's homework so we can keep it simple? Like I guess because there was a missing. I don't know.
Oh, I see.
Well,
So Mark's in the same place that I am. He's saying
all
to
right,
himself
but
the same thing that I am. Like, wait a minute, this person, Anita, has
No,
got it down.
I mean I did it. I did it. without
Wait a minute.
thinking about it, but I'm just saying, like, if we could do it again, I don't think it would hurt anybody. But that's my
No,
He's,
definitely do
he's
it
being
again.
more
But
diplomatic than me.
yeah, but I'm pretty sure if I say to Mark, do that instead of the homework, he's going to do both. So it's up to you if you want to do both. I think you should always do the first part where you think about, you reflect on your own self value and your own self acceptance.
Yeah.
That should be part of your morning meditation, even.
You know what the part of the problem is that I'm so new at this thing. Sometimes I doubt whether I know the real questions to ask. You
That,
know, what are the questions that I have to ask? And that's a little bit of the self-doubt that I have.
and that's
So,
okay. That's okay to have that. That's the learning curve that you're going to experience, and it's inevitable. You're on the newer side, and this is a lot of information, and
Mhm.
you're doing great keeping up with it. So don't feel like, oh, I got to really comprehend this, or I really got to get this down. You're getting it. You probably feel like you don't, but you really are.
Mhm.
And next year, if you do this again, you'll probably get it differently and think, oh, last year was wrong. I wasn't getting it. I'm getting it now. Well, no, you are getting it. It's that you've got to remember it's layers. So whatever you're getting now is a beginning layer. And as you peel those layers off, you're going to get more and more. You're going
yeah,
to understand more and more. You don't have the knowledge yet. It'd be like taking a beginner's course and speaking a new language and think after the first class you can have a conversation. You can't.
part of me is saying to myself, I'm so old already that I've been patient because, if I had started this 30 years ago, or 25 years ago started on this path that would have I'd be able to do this in the normal time, but I'm already like 67 and I'm just starting this stuff and I don't want to be so old that I just, I got no time.
It's
Well, you
it's
know
never
what?
too late.
You're gonna have to work with your higher power, Joel, and give some of that stuff that you just mentioned away because none of it's true, is it?
Yeah.
Is any of it real?
No, no, it's all
Exactly.
bullshit. Right, but you know what I'm saying though. It's like,
Uh-huh. I hear what you're saying, and it's very self-abusive.
yeah,
So you don't, that's the old you. When we self-abuse, we use our addictions. So
yeah.
it's important not to do that to yourself. You have to have grace for yourself. You have
Mhm.
to have the realization that Anita did something differently. She's been in the program a long time. Yeah, it maybe is unfortunate that you didn't get it sooner. Maybe we don't know. Who knows? You might have run ragged with it. We don't know. But what we have to do is we have to accept and expect that we're exactly where we're supposed to be. Because you know what, Joel? If you try to think about it any other way, you'll destroy yourself. Have enough grace to be able to say, I'm exactly where I needed to be. I couldn't have done this any sooner. I wasn't ready. If you were, you would have found the help you needed, and you didn't. So now is when you're supposed to do it.
Right.
You have to trust that. You have to say, I'm going to believe in that because I don't have proof of my way of thinking being true. So I'm going to decide which way is the truth for me. And the truth for me is that I reflected for a whole week on my self-acceptance and my value, and that doesn't fit in with what I was just telling myself.
Well, I accept that. I mean, I accept that. It's certainly soothing me. So I'll take that.
Because it's true.
Yeah.
It's true, and the truth does tend to do that to people. It gives you a sense of calm. When
Yeah.
you're hearing something and it's giving you pause, or you're getting worked up, or your stomach's got butterflies, you got to think about that. So when you hear something that gives you a really sense of okayness or calm, stick with it. That's the purpose.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
do that homework assignment this week then.
I'm
Try it.
gonna try. I'm gonna, try and ask the right questions.
No, 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 no. Just have the right answers. The questions don't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
the
do it on a
questions,
bike.
yeah.
I'll do it on a bike ride.
Okay, that's perfect. That's almost meditative, riding a bike. That's perfect.
Yeah, well, unless I'm doing something technical, like going down a cliff or something.
Well, when you get to the bottom, start the meditation.
That's right. That's right.
Or if you really feel supported, wing it. I don't suggest you test it out, but
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
All right, well, do the homework, Mark, whatever way you want, whatever way you're going to get the most out of it. I think everybody should do that. And that includes if you feel like, if anybody feels like doing the homework is causing detriment to their life or their lifestyle or their time frame or whatever, don't do that to yourself. We're not here. This is not an aggressive thing. This is a peaceful thing. We want peace. We don't want more harm to ourselves. We don't want more stress. We don't want more pressure.
Yeah.
We want connection to the power. And if the homework brings you away from it, don't do the homework. Just don't tell Herb I ever said that. He would die. But really, it's what's best for you in a real situation, not in that skewed thing that you've done for a long time. That's your fallback, Joel. You've been putting those things in your head for a long time, and it got you to a place where it doesn't work for you anymore. It was it's too disruptive on your life. Go ahead, Jill.
Hi, Lisa and
Hi.
everybody. I remember you had mentioned in one of the slides that there was this great movie, like about 21 minutes long, called like Sitting in the Power or
Yeah.
something like that. I was wondering if you could share the link.
I will send the link out if you want to try to look it up quicker. It's Tony Stockwell. He's out of the UK. Um, and it's a really quick, really easy to listen to meditation that I found years ago. I've actually met him too. He's wonderful. But it's
There's
kind of an easy
just
one to do.
Yeah, I
Oh,
did try to Google it, and there's a whole bunch of people who are doing Sitting in the Power, and I
Yeah,
tried to do 21 minutes, but his never came up. So now
yeah.
I have a name, I'll probably find it.
it's
Yeah,
Thank
it
you.
might be 24 minutes.
it's
Okay,
Stockwell,
Stockwell.
Stockw. Stockwell.
Stock, Stockwell, yeah. Tony
Okay.
okay,
Stockwell.
I'll
Um,
find it.
I'll send you the link anyways in case you don't find it, but somebody's coming in.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll find you the link and send it, but it's just a really good meditation. And for me, when I was beginning, um the the guided meditations were really helpful. I needed that direction and something to focus on because I have that monkey mind that goes all over the place. So some of those are really helpful, at least till you get to a place where you feel like you can do it on your own, or to be honest, I do more contemplation than I do meditation. It's just what works for me.
So when you mentioned monkey mind, and what
Mm.
turned things around for me when I was meditating was in one of the meditation, it said, um, it's important to embrace the monkey mind. It's that monkey mind is telling you something, and if you keep trying to block it, you're not really moving along. You're just going to stay stuck. So when I heard that, I was like, okay. So then all of a sudden it came up, oh, this doctor's appointment, or it came up this or whatever. Oh, I really don't have any healthy food right now. Whatever came up when I'm meditating, and then I was like, okay, while I'm meditating, I said to myself, oh, should I spend a little more time talking to myself? Is this something important we want to think about right now? So it's like I was like, all of a sudden, I was like, I was embracing my monkey mind. And it was like, I didn't have to fight it anymore. It was like, okay, this is telling me something. This is telling me this is important, or this is something I'm dealing with, or whatever. And then once I stopped fighting it and started listening, I didn't need to listen anymore. It was the most freeing thing. And then all of a sudden I said, I, it was the pushing away of all that thinking that kept it there. It
Yep.
was the it was so cool. I'll
Yep.
pass there.
Yeah, I love that. It's that statement, whatever you resist will persist.
Mm.
So yeah, and I that happens to me. The more I try to control my thinking, the worse the meditation gets. So
Yes, whatever risks you persist. I
whatever,
never heard that. Thank
yeah,
you.
whatever you resist will persist.
So the contemplation is just getting a connection. It's just feeling a connection.
Yeah. Um, and you actually do feel differently. It's a feeling, there's a change or a shift in the energy. And I try to do it frequently because I like to stay in that state of mind. Um, and I just seem to get more from it because I can, you know, go jump into the contemplation over the sitting in the meditation, trying to get my mind to regulate and so I
Do you contemplate when you start a meditation, or you can contemplate when you're just doing something else?
both.
Is it almost like a daydream?
No, because it doesn't really involve thought as much as it involves feeling. It's feeling a presence. And then when you feel that presence, you connect to it. And in that connection, you have this um, change of mind that happens. It's
Well,
like just the connection itself becomes
and
therapeutic.
what I'm trying to think about is what sort of state are you in when you start to connect, when you start to contemplate? I mean, are you sitting idly, or are you
Oh, no,
walking, or are you
anything I'm doing, I can be in a contemplative mind. Sometimes it's when I'm doing trivial stuff like vacuuming, I'll connect instead. Because I don't like to vacuum and I don't have to think about vacuuming. I can be in contemplation instead. It's a trade-off.
So it's kind of like being in conscious contact in the moment.
Yeah.
Mm.
And what ends up happening is you stay in the moment, you carry it into each moment. Like it's a purposeful way of going about your day, of just being in contemplation, like touching base with what I believe is my higher power on the little ins and outs of my day.
Like Herb says, effective relationship with power.
Yeah,
Like in that moment,
yeah,
you're having that, you're relating.
yes. It's in the room. I'm in the room. We're
Mm.
connected, but it's not formal. It's not like I have to sit down, pray about it, get into a state of mind, and then it happens. It's
Right.
just, I start out that way. I start in that mindset.
Is it like it's like you're practicing the presence of God, right?
It is exactly that.
Yes. It
Yes.
reminds me like when I, if when I did Tai Chi, I was told it's a moving meditation.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like you're in the zone,
Yeah, in the flow is Herbert in the
in the
flow.
flow. Yeah.
So if
In the
you would,
zone, in the light.
yeah, so if you were doing Tai Chi and you got really good at it and you didn't have to think about how your body was moving because your body has muscle memory and it's going to do what it's supposed to, you could really get into the contemplation part
Mm.
because you don't have to think about what you're physically doing.
Right. And you're in a good state to connect and stay
Yes.
connected. Hmm.
maybe
Yes.
that's what I was doing when I was swimming?
It could
Yeah.
be, yeah. Yeah. So it's similar, but it's different. It's a little different. It's a little less um I guess it's a little less thought provoking. It's more a feeling. It's a you're feeling the presence. When my granddaughter comes to my house, I feel that presence in her. I see that in her. I see it in a book that I love. I can feel the presence because I do believe God is everything and everywhere. So anything I look at, I can pull contemplation from it. And it's really simple in the beginning to do that if you take some things that are just really amazing, like a flower that has bloomed and you just hold it and you just really feel the presence, not just of the flower, but of the creation, and then the connection to the flower because of the creation.
So
It
you're
sounds a
saying
little tutti frutti, I think,
no,
but
no, 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 but it's an interesting concept. You're saying that, let's say if I was reading The Lord of the Rings, which is a book that I really love,
yeah,
and if I'm getting very deeply into the concept in the book of in that particular chapter or that particular paragraph, and I'm reading very deeply into it and getting the vision of what's happening in that you're saying that that vision that I'm seeing is actually a connection. Is that,
it could be, I don't know because it's not my connection, but if you are looking at this book and you're reading the words and this feeling or this presence seems to come over you while you're reading this book.
oh, okay. So it's not a connection with the book. It's a connection with something separate from the book,
Right.
but it's brought about by the reading that you're doing.
Yes. So what often prompts a feeling of connection to a higher power is beauty, something that's beautiful,
Yes, yes,
right?
yes, yes.
Yes.
That's how you get it. Yes.
Yes. So in that beauty, there's energy that vibrates at a very high level, which is the high level of vibration in the world, I believe, that connects me to the power. So if you're reading a book and it really grabs you and you could actually probably close your eyes and you would feel a presence because that beauty in that in those words to you put you in that place where you're vulnerable to the higher power. It's actually allowing yourself to go to that place where you can say, wow, this is my higher power. I feel the presence. You can feel it in a child, you can feel it in a pet, you can feel it
Yes, 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 yes.
flower.
I'm just a big fan of you, but everything I came
Yes.
to mind about this presence and feeling it, and
Yep.
this is the connection. Yes, for me,
Yes.
it was
And that's the
always
con.
like that. The
Yeah.
beauty, nature, the little kids I was taking care of, and feeling like I I wanna be here more than anywhere else. This
Yeah.
is the moment in my
You,
life
you
when I
feel
felt like
completely
I'd
present.
rather be here than anywhere else right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
thank you.
Yeah. It's total, you're totally in that moment
Hmm.
and the connection is there. And you might say, well, is it a connection to God? Well, if God is everything, then yes, absolutely, it's a
Yes.
connection to God. God
Hmm.
shows up in beauty.
Hmm.
So if you're reading a beautiful book and it's really touching your heart, you're touching God.
Or music or a
Music. That's
song
why I
and,
use
and
music so
anything. Yeah,
much. Yeah.
music.
Music
Yeah,
really, really does
yeah.
an amazing job because it vibrates at a higher level.
And the tiny people in our lives, right? They just and our pets, they
Yeah.
just give you this joy that it is.
It's a joy
Where did
you
it
can't
come from? It's like
explain.
I don't know, but I just
Exactly.
feel like this is the
Exactly.
best time in my life right now. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you for
Even
saying all those things.
even when she bites me.
Even
Oh,
when,
I don't know about that.
exactly. Exactly. It's that love, Joel. It's an
Mhm.
unconditional thing.
Yeah,
It's
yes.
not,
Mhm.
okay, if I behave, my dog loves me, or if I say the right thing, my granddaughter gives me a hug. It's not about that.
No, no,
Mhm.
It's
it's
that
about that
touch,
love.
you're
Yeah.
touching, you're physically touching a creation of the higher power.
And
This
And
that's
then
what
you
I was
gift.
feel
that's
like
what I
this,
was
I am so blessed, right? That's what you feel like, oh my God,
Yeah.
this is the real thing, right? Not this
This is the
struggle in
right.
life and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
yes.
You're welcome. I
So,
wish I'd like to say I created it, but I didn't.
Then you'd be the higher power.
Mm,
Yes, yes. I mean, that line in the big book where they say, God is either everything or God is nothing is
mhm,
so important because I can't have a half-assed God. I know that much. I don't want to have a God in my life that can only do certain things. That wouldn't make a God godly.
I have a
it,
half-assed God. Oh,
right? I mean, I don't want to half-ass God. Well, God can do this, but it can't do
I want a
that.
full-ass
You do
God.
this, your
Well,
God will do
that's
that.
like that George Carlin line. That George Carlin line was, "Can God make a rock so big that he himself can't lift it?"
Oh, wow.
That's a typical George Carlin statement.
That's right.
Um, but yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
It's how we get to the place of defining what our higher power is. When we can see the beauty in life and the gift of what all of that beauty is, we can then make the leap to, well, where did that beauty and gift come from? Sure as hell didn't come from me.
I'd like
So
to share something when you're done with that thought.
sure, go ahead.
You sure you don't want to finish?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Um, and I have to preface this with I am not a native Arabic speaker, but I did live in the Middle East for a lot of my life. And
Nice.
my experience, so in Arabic, God is Allah, and it
Mm-hmm.
means the God. And it's the same for Christian Arabs and Muslim Arabs. You know, it's not an Islamic thing necessarily. A lot of people think it is. And the language is peppered with things, inshallah, mashallah, etc. And I noticed right away that, like, whenever anything beautiful, like a sunset came on the television, the Egyptians say, Allah, Allah, it's like, it's
Ah,
that same thing of noticing the beauty, the wonder, and attributing it to God.
Hmm.
And
yes.
the peppered in the language, with so much just has the word Allah in it.
Yeah.
Uh and it's always, if God wills, what God wills, etc.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about God's will. See, I hadn't made that connection until right now. With
There
our
you
12
go.
steps, it's
Well, it's the
God's
same
will,
thing in
right?
Judaism. In
That's
Judaism, people,
fantastic.
Yeah, and
in
they're all related, those three religions of the book.
God's
And
willing. That's how they say it. God's
in,
willing.
in
Yeah.
Judaism they say Hashem. It's the same thing.
so, yeah, I just wanted to share that because
Beautiful.
Yeah.
thought of that right away. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. See, I really can't take any credit for it because the Arabs got it first. But yeah, there's a lot to that
Hmm.
for many years, hundreds of years, people have seen it that way. The
Look
beauty.
at my profile picture over there. That's it. That
Yeah.
is God.
Yeah.
I rather see
Yeah.
that than my little self right now.
Yeah.
But someday maybe I'm gonna accept that I am just like God's child, and I have everything I need and everything I want, and I
Well,
just don't feel deserving yet, I think, but I see the beauty all the time. When I put it up instead of me, it's like, yes, that is God.
yes, exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly. And it's available to everybody, to everyone. Beauty is available to everyone.
Yes, anytime, yes.
Yeah. I mean, even, look at some of the artwork that people can just sit and look at for hours. And it's just this feeling
Hmm.
of this connection is just, it's so intense. It, for me, doing this the way I do really personalizes who my higher power is to me. It just really brought it home for me to be able to say, okay, this is what my higher power is. This creation, because I believe my higher power is a creator. So this beautiful creation, how can I doubt? And everywhere I look, I see the beauty. It's everywhere because to me, God is everywhere. God is everything. So, it's important to have avenues to go down when you're wondering about your higher power, like what Susan was saying with the Arabs. When I was trying to find out what my beliefs were, I studied I studied the top 5 religions. And what I found out was, like what Joel said, we're all praying or believing in the same thing,
Yes.
just calling it something different. And isn't
Mhm.
that sad that we've been divided by the words that describe what our higher power is instead of being joined and saying we can
And the
share.
thought that, oh, my God is better than yours. So
Yeah,
that's the biggest
exactly.
problem on earth,
Well,
right?
Yes,
Yeah.
my God is the only God. That's the
Oh, that's
real
another
problem.
one. Yes, even worse, right?
Yeah, yours is
All the
wrong.
wars and
Yeah, mine is
everything and
the
killing
only
in
true
the name
God.
of God. Yes,
Gosh.
right.
right. Maybe that's why it's so crazy. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's why I was so um, upset about hearing the word God, because all these things comes in the consciousness with it, all the wars and oh my God.
But you have to remember that all those things that we're talking about are not acts of God. They're
Hmm.
acts of people.
Right, right.
And it's really
Really
important
important.
Hmm.
to make
With the will,
distinction.
our will, right? We got this free will, and we can do anything we want because God is so loving that He let us even kill each other like that, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Which
Hmm.
sounds crazy, but
Yep.
you
Yep.
know, we don't know the plan.
Hmm.
So who knows? Maybe it's crazy if you don't. I don't know. But
Hmm.
you know, you have to go with what you feel
Hmm.
inside is your presence. And then you just keep building on it. It continues to build, just like the 12 steps, we continue to learn more. As you go through your life,
Life.
your God of choice will expand also because your mind is expanding. Therefore, you have to expand your belief of God. It's inevitable.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's an ongoing thing that just it's going to keep evolving and it's fantastic that it does. So, all right, everyone. I hope you all got your questions answered. And if not, just send me an email. But otherwise, I'll see you all next week.
Hmm.
And anyone that wants to do the extra homework of loving yourself all week, I'd love to hear about it at the end. How about you, Mark? You're gonna come back with a story, right?
I'll try.
Okay, I know you can. I know you will. You're gonna give us a great story about how it worked.
Thank you for everything. Thank you, Anita, to inspire us to do this.
Yes, I want to inspire you to do this. That's my job.
Thank you.
All right, I'll see you next week.
Thank you. Good night. Thank you
Good
so
night.
much.
Good night, everyone.